This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Taking this live look at radar, this is Hurricane Idalia. It has made landfall officially now. It is a very powerful Category 3. We're talking maximum sustained winds of 130 miles an hour, life-threatening storm surge, and the potential to spin off tornadoes in areas affected by the outer bands. A live report from Florida, plus more updates throughout the morning here on Sunrise.
If tigers continue at their current rate, then Portlanders will see more graffiti because we don't have that boost in capacity to remove it.
The takeaway from that ODOT official: be ready to see more graffiti in the metro area. Why officials say removing the eyesores will be less of a focus.
And we are also live in Canby this morning at the home of Swan Island Dahlias. Yes, the farm here is hosting their annual Dahlia Festival. Big weekend coming up this weekend with the holiday, Labor Day weekend. But even better news, the Dahlia Festival here will continue throughout the month of September. So plenty of opportunities to check out the flowers. Brenda, Christine, and Chris McGinnis, we will introduce you to some of the Dahlia varieties coming up a little bit later this hour. I've actually talked to some of the flowers already. They want to meet you, gang. So I'm sure that you would like to meet them as well. The introduction's coming up a little bit later.
100%. They are beautiful. Thank you, Drew. Hey, before we get to weather, a shout out to all the students and teachers heading back to school today. They include Vancouver, Sherwood, and Kelso school districts. Good luck. The first day jitters, you know, everybody has them, even if you're going back to the same school.
Yeah, I dropped our little Patrodactyl off at first grade yesterday. That was awesome. Yeah, that's
how
his
cute.
Nickname. Yeah, and he loved it. And so a proud PPS student as well. They were back yesterday, and super exciting time. I've got something super cool to show you.
Tell me.
How about a full moon? Ooh. There's a full moon shot from Lincoln City right now. Our Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City showing the setting nearly full moon, the second full moon of the month of August, right? About to sink into the Pacific this morning. All right, we'll switch gears. We'll give you the live look from our Wells Fargo sky camera. We've got some cloud cover out there right now. 64 last check at PDX. And beneath that cloud deck, we're actually seeing a couple sprinkles in the Cascade foothills and in parts of the Coast Range in the South Washington and the North Oregon coast. It is possible that one or two of those work their way into the valley, but I really think for the most part today is going to be a day that's kind of in and out of the cloud cover, but mostly dry and warm. I've got us topping out in the upper 70s. Shower chance today, rain tomorrow. I'll walk you through that with your full forecast in just a minute. Let's get you out the door with a live look right now at the roads. And all green on the traffic map this morning. That is good to report. We're looking live right now at 217 near Greenberg Road. You can see Greenberg, the overpass there. Traffic moving along just fine. Guys, no crashes, no unexpected delays right now.
Chris, thank you. This morning, teachers in the Evergreen School District are on strike. That means about 26,000 students will be at home on what was supposed to be the first day of class. Teachers say they're pushing for more support for students with special needs, more time for educators to plan, a cost of living raise, and added staff to make sure students have a safe learning environment. The Evergreen School District shared a statement with us saying the district is disappointed that the students' return to school is delayed by the teacher strike, and it will keep negotiating to find an agreement. Evergreen will join Camas teachers who've been on the picket line since Monday. In the meantime, schools in Battleground will start classes today as teachers there continue contract negotiations with the district.
ODOT says it's run out of money for extra graffiti removals in the Portland area. For the last 2 years, ODOT has tasked private contractors with removing their graffiti. State lawmakers gave ODOT a one-time check for $1 million to fund the extra cleanups, but that money ran out on June 30th. ODOT says some cleanups will still happen, but crews will always be prioritizing safety repairs over graffiti removal.
Our maintenance crews still remove graffiti, but we don't have the capacity of that extra private contractor work that was being done for 2 years.
So without the extra funding, PBOT and ODOT will remove graffiti, not private contractors.
This morning, we're looking at Portland's new map showing where homeless campers can and can't stay overnight. This comes roughly 2 months after the city's daytime camping ban went into effect. So take a look at your screen. The red areas are where camping is banned 24 hours a day. Do keep in mind the city has not marked off private property, just areas like parks and around schools. In other words, not all the gray on this map is okay. We talked to one person who lives near Southeast 80th and Rhine. She is upset that her street wasn't included in the ban.
This street has been hit so hard over the last 7 years. Yeah, I mean, the fact that they still, to this day, are like, who cares? We're going to protect all these other neighborhoods first. Yeah, that's heartbreaking to me.
The city says it's distributing this map to educate campers about the ban. Enforcement will start this fall. For a closer look at the map, you can head to our website, kgw.com.
And we are continuing to monitor a major hurricane that just made landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast. Hurricane Idalia is now a Category 3 storm with winds of about 125 miles per hour.
NBC's Jay Gray is live in Gainesville right now. Jay, what can you tell us about the storm?
Brenda, Christine, it continues to push inland now as you talk about officially making landfall. As you often see with these storms, it dropped a bit. Not much, though, down to a Category 3, which is still a major hurricane. And don't let those categories get in the way of understanding that this has the potential to cause some very significant problems. Now, we're a bit inland here in Gainesville. We are on the east side, or the dirty side of this storm, so we could see some of the most severe effects as it pushes through. We're in between outer bands right now, so a bit of a stepped up wind, some rain, but not like we've seen throughout the night. We've seen it get heavy, and then we get that break in between the bands, and then it picks up again. It's going to pick up, and then it's going to just be intense and continuous for several hours as it moves through the area. And such a powerful storm that as it pushes out of Florida and into Georgia and eventually the Carolinas, it may still be over land a hurricane when it gets to Georgia. In fact, the Hurricane Center says it could be a Category 2 in Georgia. So that's just a testimony to how strong this storm is. Of course, here in Gainesville, the University of Florida is here, and so that's 50,000 students, a huge faculty. That campus obviously locked down, and they're watching things closely here. 5,500 National Guard troops have been deployed. More are at the ready should they be needed, and they're in key areas ready to move in and help out once the storm clears. And then you've got all the power crews, hundreds from around the country, staged just outside of the strike zone, and they'll move in as well. There are a lot of trees in this part of the state. You usually think of the beaches when you think of Florida, but there are a lot of trees, so that's going to be an issue. They can be pulled down. Power lines obviously are a big concern, and so everyone watching this closely, understanding that the worst of this is still to come over the next several hours here.
Okay, so Jay, I know that part of the country, they get hurricanes regularly. You know, we don't here up in Portland, Oregon. But have you gotten a chance to speak to the people there? What's the sense? I know I see traffic moving behind you.
Yeah, it's stunning to see traffic. I've been shocked by that this morning, but I'll tell you, we made the trip from Tampa into Gainesville yesterday, and there were a lot of people still here and stocking up, trying to get supplies and get ready for this storm. Hopefully they prepared and they have a safe spot. They understand where they're going to be and prepared for not days, but perhaps weeks without power and with problems, because that's what this storm could bring. I think across the state, people obviously seeing this thing intensify have taken it seriously, either moved to higher ground, got into some shelters, and so now we just see how that plays out. It's going to be most severe, obviously, along the coastlines, and we're going to see a huge storm surge. Could be 12 to 16 feet they're forecasting. That's more than a full story wall of water just pushing in. And then they're saying at the strike point, which is Perry, Florida now, that it could look more like a tornado than a hurricane, just leveling everything in its path. The thing about that Big Bend area of this state is it's not densely populated, so that's good. And hopefully everyone there has moved on. But it's also not got a lot to block this storm from continuing to rush through, and so it'll still be very powerful when it makes its way through this area.
Okay, Jay Gray with a live report from Gainesville. Jay, thank you so much. Stay safe out there.
You heard him say the dirty side of the storm. Can you kind of define what that is?
And typically what that is basically the right front side of the right front quadrant, if you will. If you divided the storm into four parts, northeast, southeast, whatever, the right front part of the storm is typically the most dangerous part of a landfalling hurricane. And as we get to the radar right now, we'll show you where that specifically is, right through the Big Bend area. This is 2 hours of radar imagery. So the storm making landfall about 45 minutes ago or so now, right here in the Big Bend area. And so what Jay Gray is referring to is that right front part of the storm. So kind of from this area over is going to be the location that took the hardest storm surge. But then getting out a little farther from that through all these spiral bands, there's going to be likely numerous weak tornadoes, right? So you've got that threat as this system continues to lift on off to the north. And that in itself, the wind is still going to be quite strong as this continues to track on up into Georgia and then out over the open waters of the Atlantic. So stay tuned. All right, our weather, luckily, much quieter than that, right? And to speak to that, how about a setting nearly full moon shot from the Chinook Winds Casino Resort Camera in Lincoln City? That's pretty cool. The second full moon of the month of August. A blue moon. That'll be actually tonight for the full moon, right? 64 last check at PDX. Futurecast today has, again, everybody off to a mild start. We'll be in the 70s by lunchtime. And then we finish off the day probably just shy of the 80-degree mark. I've got Portland at 77, maybe 79 in Salem, and hopping over the Cascades, mild temperatures as well, generally in the upper 70s, right? Quite a change of pace from earlier in the month when we were scorching hot. We do not have heat like that in the forecast. We've got clouds and maybe a couple sprinkles. Here's Futurecast this afternoon. You see 1 or 2 green blobs on the map. So it's possible that we see a spotty shower this morning. The best bet for that would be in the Coast Range and in the Cascade foothills. Most of us probably won't see anything today. Fast forward to tomorrow, completely different story. This is Thursday morning, 24 hours from now, a widespread, meaningful rainfall event here up and down the I-5 corridor from Seattle south to Eugene. Tomorrow's going to be wet, especially for the first half of the day, and the second half of the day turns kind of showery. How much rain are we looking for tomorrow? Maybe upwards of a half an inch. I mean, this is major rainfall for the month of August, and certainly major rainfall that we have not seen in months, and that is fantastic news. So that headlines the forecast for tomorrow. Today, partly sunny, slight chance of a shower, upper 70s. Tomorrow, rain likely, especially in the morning. And flowers need rain, Drew, so that's good, right?
Yes. Yes, they do, Chris. Absolutely. Good news for the flowers. We are hanging out in what's known as the display garden area here at Swan Island Dahlias. The farm is in Canby. They're hosting their annual Dahlia Festival right now, and this coming weekend, Labor Day weekend, will be one of the biggest weekends of the season. We'll have more on the festival, more on the farm, all of that coming up in just a few minutes right here on Sunrise.